Support comes from Thomas Nelson Community College, now becoming Virginia Peninsula Community College, the first choice, whether starting your bachelor's degree or advancing your career. More at tncc.edu.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. All kinds of businesses received help from the federal government during the pandemic through the American Rescue Act Plan of 2021. Black and other minority farmers were especially elated because the ARPA plan promised long overdue debt relief, until it didn't. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 takes away that promised help at a time when black farmers are being foreclosed in record numbers and inflation makes it even harder to succeed. Up next on Another View, the plight of black farmers. But first, guess what, y'all? This is the day to show your support for Another View by becoming a member of WHRO Public Media. I am now joined by Dr. Barry Graham. He's the host of Acoustic Highway and Picking on WHRV-FM, and he also answers the phones for us here at Another View, and Another View producer Lisa Godley. Hey, you guys, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Me too. I'm
Good.
feeling fabulous.
Feeling fabulous, and we want to invite people. We are now in our 12th year on the radio.
So excited.
Isn't that exciting?
So very exciting.
Extremely.
And it is because of your support when you call 800-940-7170. Make your pledge of support. Tell the volunteers you're calling to support Another View. We've got a $2,000 challenge, which means that every dollar up to $2,000 will be matched dollar for dollar. And so show your love, y'all. We're waiting for the phones to start ringing. Isn't that right, Lisa?
We are absolutely waiting for the phones to start ringing. I am so excited about everything we have coming up in the next few weeks for Another View, and can't wait to share it with our audience.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we have a live show coming up. I know we're live on the radio, but we're going to be live in person, aren't we?
We are going to be live at Fort Monroe on the last Thursday of the month, September 29th. We're going to be talking about Harriet Tubman. And for those of you who don't know, Harriet was a nurse at Fort Monroe. Long time ago.
That's why I love this program. That the history you get out of this program is just astounding. I heard the spot and I was like, I had no idea. I'm so looking for. As a former teacher, I always say, you cannot possibly learn enough, and that's the really unique thing about this program is just that it's a continuous learning experience for me.
Absolutely. And Barry, you know what? I love that you work on the show along with Todd Washburn and Christy Jordan, because we have a very diverse staff, don't we, guys?
Extremely.
Right.
We span the generations.
Yes, we span the generations. We're diverse racially, age-wise, gender-wise. I mean, we incorporate it all, but we celebrate the African-American community. And you can celebrate with us by becoming a member of WHRV-FM and WHRO Public Media. Just call 800-940-7170, or you can go to WHRO.org and make your pledge of support there.
That's right. This is your opportunity to support what you love. And we know you love Another View because you're listening.
Absolutely. And you call in.
I always get excited when the phones rings, but I really get excited when they ring today during the membership drive during this radio program.
Absolutely. And when you talk to the volunteers, now we do have some gifts of appreciation, but we know that's not the reason why you become a member. You become a member because you want us to be on the radio every Thursday at noon so that you can hear about the incredible things that are happening within the Black community. And we talk about those things unabashedly, but we also talk about issues that affect all of us. Just like today's show, where we're going to be talking with some outstanding African-American farmers and talking about some of the issues they face, but also some of the joys and the just the sheer love of what they do. So I'm sorry, that's the wrong number. 800-940-7170.
There are two numbers today.
Yes, there are two numbers.
And to talk to our guests.
But we really do need you to call in and make your pledge of support. support, can you do that now? If we can raise $2,000 within the hour, we will have $4,000. So there you
Yay.
go.
Nice
Exactly.
exclamation point on people who
Absolutely.
love this radio program.
Absolutely.
And I am one of them.
Thank you, Barry. You've always been a supporter of
Absolutely.
ours from the very beginning. So we really, really appreciate that.
And I'm so excited now. I get to be a part of the team. I had a previous life where I taught school and didn't always get the opportunity, to hear the program. But now I get to hear it each and every week and be a part of it and experience it. And I can tell you that it is such a rich, wonderful hour that you get each week here on 89.5. Let me make the case very quickly and tell you that the hard work that goes into this radio program is just astounding, especially in the part of the producer, Lisa, and the host, Barbara. So please, if you appreciate that, support it.
Thank you, Barry.
Exactly. And Lisa, tell them the phone number again.
To call in for the show?
No,
or
to make their pledge of support. We've got 30 seconds left. It's 800-940-7170. That's the number to call. The volunteers will answer the phone. They'll ask you, what are you calling in support of? And what are you going to say? Another view. That's because we want to, we are very proud of the fact that within 1 hour, we are able to raise a good amount of money and your dollars support the programming that you have come to love, that you listen to every single day. So we're about to start Another View. Please call us 800-940-7170. And now it's time for Another View.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Please show your support of Another View during the next hour. Now, as I said before, we have a $2,000 challenge, which means your gift will be matched dollar for dollar up to $2,000, but you have to call in now. Just dial 800-940-7170 or go to WHRO.org and make your pledge of support. Your gift ensures that Another View continues to bring you the important issues facing the African American community in particular, but has an impact on all of us. And we thank you in advance for your support. So farming is a tough but rewarding career for any farmer. But for Black and other farmers of color, discrimination and racism makes it even harder. Black farmers were promised debt relief by the Biden administration. Legislation was passed and then repealed. So now what for Black farmers? Some answers from our guest. Elisha Barnes is a fourth-generation peanut farmer from Southampton County, Virginia, and owns Pop Sun Farm. How you doing, Elisha?
I'm well.
It's good to have you back.
Good
It's been
to
a
be
while.
back. Good to be back.
And Clifton Slade, or Cliff, is a third-generation farmer from Surrey, Virginia, and he's an organic farmer. How you doing, Cliff?
Doing great.
Good. Thanks
Glad
so
to
much.
be here. Yes.
Thanks so much for coming back to talk with us again. And joining us by phone is Dr. John Boyd. He's also a Virginia farmer and the founder and president of the National Black Farmers Association. How are you, Dr. Boyd?
Good. Thank you very much for having me, and hello to my fellow colleagues.
All right. Hello there. Same to you. Yes.
Absolutely. So I'm going to come to you first, John. Can you explain to us what happened in 2021 and then subsequently in 2022 so that people get a sense of what's going on right now?
Yes. The Congress passed a measure for debt relief for Black and other farmers of color for about $5 billion in debt relief. $1 billion to set up a commission and all of these other things, and $4 billion to pay debt relief to about 15,000 farmers of color. So myself and others were elated that Black farmers were finally going to get debt relief for 120%. So 100% of your loan would be forgiven and 20% for our taxes for a total of 120%. Mm-hmm. And then white farmers started suing us in federal court in 12 different complaints. And we had the courts issued 2 temporary injunctions, one in Florida and one in Texas, blocking the payments to Black and other farmers of color. So it's been an uphill battle, and they claimed it was reverse discrimination. And I can tell you that I don't know what white farmer who've been spat on or called the N-word or had their application thrown in the trash can. They don't know what discrimination is, and they just didn't want to see Blacks and other farmers of color actually get the money. So here last month, Congress repealed that measure and replaced it with a much broader definition for distressed farmers. So any farmer who feel like they've been discriminated against or any of those things would be able to take part in that measure. And I immediately opposed the language because many black farmers had already planned what they were going to do, after they got debt relief, so they incurred other debts and things of this nature. So we see it as another broken promise to black and other farmers of color. And for the record, it's not a new lending program that excludes whites. It's an ask by myself and others for over 3 decades. We've been trying to get debt relief. While we were asking white farmers were receiving debt relief with ease from the United States Department of Agriculture, and it really was blacks who were not getting the debt relief.
So they were saying that the farmers that sued said that you can't use legislation to create equity, because that is what the Biden administration's one of its promises was, that they were going to try to create equity for all through their programs, correct?
Yes, and what they're saying is, it's reverse discrimination. That is the new program that excludes white farmers. And I'm saying totally different. It doesn't exclude white farmers when you get 99% of the debt relief in the first doggone place. So how were you excluded when you were the ones who were getting it, and we were the ones that were not receiving debt relief in this country for many, many decades? But they chose, and I left this piece out, they chose very conservative courts to file these injunctions in, these complaints, these lawsuits in. So they didn't pick, they really selected the courts and judges that heard these complaints, and they were really right-wing judges that ruled in their favor. So the courts didn't help us out there, and we finally started getting some momentum in court, and then Congress repealed it.
So what are your farmers that are members of the Black Farmers Association? What are they telling you? How has this impacted them?
Yes, and thank you very much for that question. They really don't understand why they can't get the debt relief. They don't understand it. They don't, it's like me giving you a Christmas present, something that you really wanted, but you know what? You can't open it. You can't have it now. And we're having to spend hours at a time explaining the whole process. And they see it as, blacks just can't get what they were promised to in this country every time. That's the way that we're hearing from many, many black farmers who are very disgruntled about the position to repeal debt relief.
Now, the USDA, it is no secret that discriminatory practices, and I think everybody agrees with this across the board, that they have been involved in many discriminatory practices against black and minority farmers all along. But can you be real specific? So, for example, I was reading an article where one farmer said he literally can't afford the fuel for his tractor to be able to farm.
Yes, and if you don't get access to credit, you can't farm. And my other colleagues can tell you about it. You have to have farm operating loans every year to plant and harvest on time if you're any part of production agriculture in this country. And that's why farmers like myself and others turn to USDA, the lender of last resort, to lend us money. And we still weren't getting the loans the way that the whites were. It takes 30 days to process a white farm loan application and 387 days to process a black loan application. And these are the disparate figures that, we've been faced with. And even after all the discrimination, we're still out here farming, and it's only by the grace of God. If people don't believe that, that's what it is.
Elijah, I see you shaking your head. Elisha Barnes with Pop Son Farms. Do you know other farmers? Have you had to deal with this at all?
Yes, I have, because when trying to get loans, and even through the government programs, one of the problems is that you end up getting denied when you go in, and they say you don't qualify. And the reasons for not qualifying can be as simple as, well, you don't have enough baseline income coming in to qualify a loan for you to be able to go back out there and work on your farm.
So it's a catch-22. You can't get ahead.
You can't ride the horse because the horse has a broken back, but you can't use the horse because you need it.
What about you, Cliff?
Oh yes, it's the same thing. In my experience, I always applied on time, and I wanted to take advantage of early order discounts on fertilizer, fuel, seed, and these types of things. That deal had to be made by the end of December. I never got an approval for my loan until May 15th. Well, at that time, all of my corn, peanuts, and soybeans were in, but I farmed with plastic, meaning credit cards.
Meaning credit cards.
So now I'm at a disadvantage because I didn't get the loan on time. The USDA or FHA at that time, interest rate was much lower than the credit card interest, but that's all I had. I had credit from that and local farm supply stores that trusted me enough to extend it. But I was out on blind faith every year, and I never got my money until May 15th. So some things I wanted to do, I couldn't do because I was made the promise, but I never got it until late. Never got a chance to take advantage. So we started out at a disadvantage, $100,000 loan. I was $12,000 in the hole before I got started, and that was every year. So if we didn't have extremely good yields or blessed with great rains and all, and catch good prices, we just couldn't make ends meet. So it's like you got tired of working for nothing. My daddy used to always say, "Son, you can't count the yield until you have the crop in the barn." And then he would say, "Son, you can't spend the money until you get the check from the crop." I'm waiting for the check.
And by waiting, though, you're also not being able to keep producing.
That's
Is that
correct.
right?
And then the other thing that happened with us on that is the promise that we had. Like Dr. Boyd was saying, we were elated. We thought that we were going to be relieved of some debt. So we began to make some other arrangements based on the fact that we were going to be relieved of the debt that we weren't relieved of.
So now you've got double debt.
Right. We went out and bought paid down on a tractor. Had a tractor fixed that the bill was $8,000 or something. Well, I know I'm going to get paid, so let's do that. And now we're in double jeopardy because that promise was made. But like my daddy said, I counted the check and it didn't come.
It didn't come.
Yes.
And
Go ahead, Elisha.
And the same thing with me, because when you go out in the beginning of the year and you got the promise that you're going to be able to get some relief so that you can at least try to expand your operation enough to cover and bring in income, and then that gets taken out. My problem right now, I have 2 tractors that are broken down. They're antiquated because I can't afford to go out and buy the newer tractors, and I can't now repair what I have because there again, you got to have the loans to be able to go and put those tractors in the shop. And the monies for that has to come from somewhere. And once you stretch credit cards out, then the high interest rates, and then not knowing what you're going to have on the other end. It's just like planting corn. Corn at $400 and some odd dollars a bag will only plant 4 acres.
Wow. See, I think people don't think about how much it costs in order to raise the crops so that you can make the money. It's a vicious cycle. So all 3 of you are multi-generational farmers.
Yes.
Are you concerned that Black farms are going to disappear? Let me start with you, Dr. Boyd.
Yes, and my hats off to those 2 brothers, because they are exactly right, and it's exactly the message that I've been relaying to the White House. You have harmed these people by repealing debt relief, because they had things that they made plans, and they went on this promise, and those farmers, those 2 guys there, I'm sure that they received one of those debt relief letters in the mail. They signed it. They sent back. They selected option 1. People, that's a contract. That's a contract between the Black farmers and the government, and they broke their promise. And I hope that we can make some traction with that in court, but they explain that exactly right. But to answer your question, now we're in trouble, and we're in trouble because the same thing keeps happening to us. So we've had a couple of settlements that many Black farmers weren't able to get the checks, and now we have $5 billion. Quote unquote, we didn't get a doggone dime of it. But white farmers are continuously getting these resources with ease, and we're trying to compete with them. It's just like he said, he's out here planting the crops and he's using credit cards. But the white farmer already had secured his loan at a great interest rate and was in the field early as possible during planting season. There's two critical times for farmers, planting and harvest. If you can't get in the ground and plant when the Mother Nature says you can at planting season, and if you can't get your combine and cotton pickers and peanut pickers in the ground at harvest, then you won't reap the maximum harvest. But it's going to be hard for younger generations of black farmers to look at John Boyd and my other two colleagues on the show and say, you know what, I want to do this. And we're showing them the hardship and the uphill battle that we're facing. And those two gentlemen are very bright men there. I'm a smart man. And we still barely can make it here in this white man's game, which is farming and agriculture here. So it's going to be tough for my 4 children to say, you know what, Dad, I want to do this. Show me how it is. But I do have a message for this young generation. God doesn't make any more land. I know farming is hard and it's hard as occupation known to man, but we still need land. Every foot you take, every step you make requires land ownership. And my grandfather said, just like them gentlemen on the show there with you, if you can either be on your own land or you can be trespassing on somebody else's, the choice is yours. Still buy some land. I want to encourage the millennial generations, to buy some land. Don't turn their nose away from land ownership. Don't turn their nose away on the ability to feed yourself. I know it's hard, but you can start small. You don't have to be a real crop producer like we are.
If you'd like to join our conversation, the numbers to call, 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. That's to join our conversation. We're talking with black farmers. Let's talk to Nathan in Suffolk. Hi, Nathan. You're on the air.
Hello, Barbara, and hello, Colonel Slade and the other panel members.
Nathan Richardson.
Oh,
my soul.
What's your question, Nathan?
Well, specifically to Colonel Slade, who used to be my commander in the National Guard. I was just calling to ask about his farm and Slade Park out in Surrey. It used to be one of the cornerstones of our culture and society out in the rural part of our community. And so just wanted to know what he's doing out there. It's been a long time since I talked to him.
Thanks so much for the call, Nathan. We appreciate that. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Nathan. When you said Nathan from Suffolk, I was like, I used to know a guy and we served in the same unit together. It's because of the other opportunities that were out there with the Virginia Army National Guard and social services doing firewood contracts is the reason I'm still sitting here and trying to stay solvent. I had to go off of the farm to make that income. Wow. I graduated from Virginia State University, had a commission as a second lieutenant in the Army, and I was working as a county extension agent at the time, and I was not making enough money. And the farm called me back. It was a magnet that pulled me back. And that's not enough money there. So thank goodness, Nathan, for having the National Guard and the income that came from that and meeting great young men like you.
So, and sorry, your farm is an organic farm, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you grow?
We grow currently sweet potatoes, sweet potato plants, and elephant garlic. I've initiated a movement called the 43-560, and it's for small farmers and the future of small farmers, in my opinion. There's 43,560 square feet in an acre. This is where small farmers can get their hook, if you know what I mean. I grow a lot of crops, but the two crops that meet that bogey, sweet potato plants and elephant garlic. And the way I do that is to grow that product and skip the middleman and ship directly throughout the United States to people's addresses right at their back door.
So they can go online to find you?
They can go online at sladefarms.com, and I'm getting ready to create a Facebook page, which I was on Facebook for 2 hours and I got hacked and got off. But and it's Slade 43560 now that you can order your sweet potatoes from or your elephant garlic.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the way I'm staying solvent.
Staying solvent and keeping it going.
Yes.
And Elijah, you're in Southampton County and you do some peanuts.
Yes. That's one of the thing that really pulled me along and kept me above water is the relationship that I have with Hubs Peanuts, who buys my crop now, and I have peanuts all over the world, overseas and all. And one of the great things that helped me is even when it's not harvesting time for peanuts, I raise watermelon, sweet corn, butter beans, and it allows me to have an income during that dry period of the year. But that's not enough for me to be able to make the repairs that I need on the tractors that I depend on. So I'm supposed to start digging peanuts on Monday. Well, I got 2 broken down tractors in the shop.
So what are you going to do?
I have one last tractor that transmission first and second and reverse gear doesn't work. So I'm going to use it as best I can. That I don't really have a choice.
Do other farmers in the area, can you guys share equipment, or I guess that's kind of hard when they're trying to get their own fields in?
But the problem is there are none of us there. So the farmers that are in the area are mega farmers. They can't even turn their equipment around in my fields because when you're carrying 16, 12, 14, 16 rows at a time and you're in a 3 or 4 acre field, it's not hardly worth their time. So there's not going to be equipment sharing. So I'm relegated to using antiquated equipment that I can get, that I can afford, and then hope and pray that it works, and then I can fix it. I am an automotive and diesel mechanic, but I have a second artificial knee. I have health issues that limit my ability to make the repairs. Wow. One of the ways that I was able to purchase this farm was because I actually worked. I worked and I
outside of the farm.
And I purchased the farm, and now having this artificial knee, it really puts it in a delicate situation. But it's like my father says, you either push or you get out of the way. So I keep pushing.
So you keep pushing. Dr. Boyd, what do you grow? Tell us about your farm.
Well, I definitely want to talk to him after the show. We may be able to try to help him get a tractor. That much.
Oh, okay.
Great.
There we go.
I'll talk to you about that.
That's wonderful.
Something down there that could help him get his crop in. I raise corn, wheat, and soybeans, and about 150 head of beef cattle. Fourth generation farmer. And if you go up Interstate 85, right across before you get to the Virginia, North Carolina line on the right is my farm. Right at the Roanoke River.
Okay.
All right.
And there's a lot of history there. And my grandfathers used to canoe up and down the river because it still wasn't safe on secondary roads for blacks. So that's how he met my grandmother, canoeing up the river to see on next adjoining farm. So there's a lot of history there along the Roanoke River and other rivers throughout this, down in Southampton County and all the other places. Blacks lived and traveled by the rivers. You can ask Nat Turner about that one, but there's a lot of history there. And just listening to these stories, it breaks my heart, that all this money, here we have the president sending $100 million to Ukraine farmers, and they sent them tractors and seed and fertilizer and all of these things, and we can't get the money for black farmers that was in the law signed by the president, and white people still don't want you to have it, but they'll go to Ukraine and give $100 million for infrastructure for Ukraine farmers, and then our country raised another $150 million from our supporting countries for Ukraine farmers, but won't do a damn thing for black farmers right here in the United States. Something's wrong with that.
What keeps you going? Why don't you quit?
Well, it's the pain. And it's the stories like the two gentlemen did. They're out here trying to make it, and they're doing creative things on their own. And guess what? They are good farmers. I can hear it, that they have the skill set. So this stuff about blacks being lazy and they don't want to work and they can't farm, it's a myth, and it's anything further from the truth. There's no way that we would be on the farm out here farming with all the obstacles in our way. As my good friend Sylvester Vaughan said down in South Africa, if we weren't master farmers, we're master farmers because those are the persons who can farm with little or no resources, and that is the black farmer.
And still make it happen.
In this country, yes.
Absolutely. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the plight of black farmers with Elisha Barnes, fourth-generation peanut farmer and owner of Pop's Son Farm, Cliff Slade, third-generation farmer who now grows organic crops in Surrey, Virginia, and also Dr. John Boyd, farmer, founder, and president of the National Black Farmers Association. We're going to continue our conversation in just a moment. But first, I want to head back over to Pledge Central to see how we're doing with our $2,000 challenge. And Lisa and Barry, how we doing?
Well, Barbara, we are more than halfway there.
Yay!
We have raised thus far $1,415.
Oh, that's fantastic. We got 30 minutes to go, folks, before this hour is up. So we need to make that $2,000 mark. Absolutely.
Right. We need to match those funds. That's right.
Barry, you want to give some folks some encouraging words?
Absolutely. Support what you love. Support this engaging conversation. Let me tell you, from inside the control studio here, we are just hinging and listening on this every word that's coming out here. Just a fascinating interview, which is what you get weekly here on Another View. So call 800-940-7170 or online at whrv.org. Just slightly over $500 to meet that $2,000 match. I know we can do it. I know there are people who love this program.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you should have heard us in the booth when John said that he might be able to do something to help Elijah. We were like, yay!
Yeah, I saw everybody clapping. Yes.
We're really listening here to the program.
Oh, gosh. But, folks, we really appreciate everyone who becomes a member. If you're a sustainer, that means that you give on a monthly basis, just like I am, and I believe Barry and Lisa are also. That allows us to know exactly how much money we have coming in on a monthly basis. We can continue to book these outstanding guests that we get and to be able to keep this show on the air. 800-940-7170 or go to whro.org. It takes just a few minutes to make your pledge of support. You become a member, and I promise you will listen to this show and to the station in a whole different way because you actually own it. That's what membership is all about. 800-940-7170 is the number to call to become a member of WHRO Public Media. And Lisa, I want you to talk to people one more time about the 29th of
That's
September.
Right. We want everyone to come out. We are going to be at Fort Monroe in their new museum. And we are going to be talking about Harriet Tubman and her life in this part of the country. She was a nurse at Fort Monroe, and we are excited. Dr. Cassandra Newby Alexander will be joining us, as well as a descendant, a great-great-great-grandson of one of the men who came over as a contraband.
Wow.
During that time and sought refuge at Fort Monroe, which was once called Freedom's Fortress. So we're really excited. I love being on the road and getting out there and meeting folks, and I love history shows. So I'm very excited about it.
So if you go to whro.org, you can, under community, and you can sign up because we do want you to register so we'll know how many chairs we need to set up. So please do that. But before you go to sign up for that live show, give us a call now and make your pledge of support. 1-800-940 Did I get that right? 7170.
Yes.
I got so many phone numbers in my head. I can't keep it straight. But we really appreciate everyone who has already given. We're at $1,415 thus far. We're trying to get to $2,000 plus before 1 o'clock. So please make your call of support now. 1-800-940-7170 or go to whro.org. And now I'm going to turn the conversation back to our farmers because you guys are just fascinating to me. So, Elijah, I want to start with you. Tell me about why you became a farmer.
This is something that started when I was 6 years old. My earliest account of being drawn to the farm. I got off the school bus, and my daddy called me hand-picking corn at the farm that my grandmother's farm that my brother and I was able to buy back into the family in 2020.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you're continuing to add
to
the family farm.
Yes. So And he called me and he told me, he said, son, get up here on this tractor and I want you to steer it. Don't run over my corn. Jump down on this thing. And when I tell you, you jump back in the seat and steer it because I was too short to reach the clutch. I was hooked.
So you had to jump down on the clutch and then get back in the seat.
And then jump back up in the seat and steer it. When he said stop, jump back down on the clutch. But that was so profound for me because from that point on, every step my father made, I was stepping behind him. I was watching him. And even at a young age, old tractors with the hand crank that you start, that's what that tractor was. And I watched my father. And on one particular, I'm going to make this real quick. I watched my father. We picked peanuts that day and finished up. But the tractor was on the back side of that same farm. And he was carrying the peanuts to the shed to get them
ready
out of the rain. And when we got back home, it was raining. He told my mother, so, Gal, that old tractor ain't going to start no more because it got wet. What I had done, remember what he had done. And I went there, a little boy now, and hand cranked that tractor, started jiggling the thing, got it started and carried it and put it under the shelter. And when he got back, I was proud to tell him I put the tractor on the shelter. First, he got angry because he know you could break your arms with that. And he looked at me. He said, you put it on the tractor, huh, son? Put it on the shelter.
So it's even more than the dirt or the crops. It's about family and connection.
Lifestyle. Teaching you how to work, teaching you ethics, teaching you morals, teaching you how to appreciate what you have. The ironic thing when I was growing up was that we were poor and didn't know it. We had nothing and didn't know it because we had mom and dad in the house and we never even heard them argue. They would go in the room, hear a little rumble coming out of the room where they discuss things, they come out, and they went on their way. So we had the foundation. And now I hear him clearer now at 67 than I ever have at any time in my life. And Papa passed in 1998.
Wow. Cliff, what about you? What got you involved?
I don't know. When I was growing up on the farm, I didn't like it at all. And all I can remember, when I was 16 years old, I asked my dad if I could leave and go with my buddies to the beach over in Norfolk. I think it was called Seaview Beach at the time. And he says, no, you're going to pull these sweet potato plants for old man John Rowe and Abraham Bale, and after that, you and your sister going to set sweet potatoes out. And I told him I sassed my dad, and I said, let me tell you one thing. When I get grown, there's two things I'm not going to do. I'm not going to farm. And if I farm, I'm not going to raise no damn sweet potatoes.
And now you're doing both.
Both. And he said if I could get to you, I would smack the Hell out of you. I said, Daddy, you didn't raise no dumb child. So to fast forward, a fifth of wine got me where I am. My younger brother got a fifth of wine in high school. I was number 8 in a class of 56. And the principal said, Slade, what are you going to do when you graduate from high school? I said, I'm going to shipyard. And he said, well, if you went to college, what would you major in? I said, agriculture, because I won't have to study. So I still was going to go to the shipyard. I took my brother's fifth of wine. All I had to do was march. I passed everything. And the principal, that same principal, caught me taking the wine to my car.
Oh.
Mr. Turner, Ben Franklin Turner from Isle of Wight County, but he was the L.P. Jackson High School principal, come in the office. Clifton, you can't graduate. I said, why?
Oh.
Because you don't have any common sense. You will repeat 12th grade. I said, but Mr. Turner, please. You can hear it in my voice right now. My mother and father going to kill me.
Oh, my goodness.
My mother and Mr. Turner were working behind my back, and they enrolled me and got me accepted to Virginia State. And he said, I know what you're going to do. You're going to go one semester and you're going to quit and you're going back to that shipyard. No, sir. I was lying. That's exactly what I meant to do. But I got there and I liked it. And I didn't really have to study until I hit chemistry and biology. But then, reality hit me. So I was called the book farmer. I came home to be a county agent because I had allergies. And after about 5 or 6 years of being away from the farm, joining the National Guard, a magnet pulled me back. You know, that's all I can say. But I do want to say one thing about our community. We have a great relationship with white farmers, too. I can go to my neighbors, almost all of them, and get a piece of equipment. I have some equipment at some of my white farmers' farms. And the last thing I'll say is, I'm not a holier-than-thou organic farmer. If the United States had to depend on organic farmers to eat, we would all starve to death. It's for those big farmers like Mr. Boyd and all the other farmers out there. So I'm not that, but I'm using the organic hook to make a living and be more solvent on my farm. I want the record to be clear on that. I'm not opposed to anyone planting a Roundup Ready corn, soybeans, or whatever. But I use that as my marketing tool when I say that I'm selling you something that's GMO free. So I'm done with it. I just want to get my little piece out there.
That's fine.
Okay.
That is
All
fine.
right.
Dr. Boyd, what got you into farming?
You know, both of them have just such great stories, and they're right. But you know, that's the history of black farmers.
Yeah,
I'm no different. I was raised partly by, of course, by my mom and dad, but also by both of my grandparents, Lee and Ruth Robinson, who were sharecroppers, and my dad's farmer, Thomas and Martha Boyd, who was a skilled farmer and a deacon in the church, and so I got to see what that lifestyle was about. And my mother's parents, who were, like I said, they sold bootleg whiskey, and they were sharecroppers. And I got to see that lifestyle. And I fell in love with the land, you know, the smell of the land and seeing stuff grow and all of those things. You know, I started farming in 1983, a very long time ago. And I've been farming ever since. And it's been an uphill battle. Every year, you know, brings different, you know, challenges. And that's been our history in this country. For any ways of people who don't know what the world hardship is, talk to a black farmer, because we can tell you, you know, how hard it is to stay out here and stay in business. But it's the oldest occupation in history for our people here, and we're not going to lose it. You know, I hear people say, you know, what's going to happen? We're not going away, and it's because of the fighting spirit. The two fighting spirits you have sitting right there in front of you, those are fighting spirits that are telling you we're not going away. But I'm going to have to run to a meeting, but tell the gentleman if he can get in touch with me. We want to help him get a tractor.
Okay,
and,
all right.
I'd like to come out and visit those two farms, and hopefully we can have another show.
Oh, that's fantastic, Dr. Boyd. And I will make sure that you get Elijah's contact information. We'll share information between the two of you. Before you run, very quickly, if you have just a moment, I understand your wife is Native American. Are the Native American farmers facing the same issues?
Very similar issues, absolutely. And, you know, they should be more madder than blacks because they stole all the good land from them, you know?
Yeah.
But at least Native Americans got reservations. Blacks are the only people in this country that didn't get the land, you know? Yeah. They used, when they went out and had settlers, they went out and built them houses, gave them hundreds of acres of land and the ability to start a farming operation. We never got the land, blacks in this country. We were promised 40 acres and a mule. We didn't get it. We were promised this damn debt relief, and we didn't get it. But we can't give up the fight, and we have to keep pushing. We have to keep pushing forward and stick together. I'm going to say that.
Absolutely.
You can't get up the road, people. Somebody ain't got some gas. Somebody going to stop and help you. You got to stick together is the messaging here. And let this administration know. A lot of us vote Democrat. But you can't keep giving us a raw deal and expect us to run and vote for you every time and you know, keep giving us a bum deal. So we have to do some things differently.
Keep us informed in terms of what continues to happen. That is Dr. John Boyd. He is a farmer and founder and president of the National Black Farmers Association. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. What questions do you have for our black farmers? 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So I want to ask Elijah, you and Cliff, this same question. You both have children.
Yes.
Are your children taking over the farm after you decide to retire? First of all, will you ever retire? And then second of all, are your kids going to take over? Let me start with you, Elijah.
Now, I would love to think my son lives on the farm with me, him and his wife. I gave them property, so they live on the farm. But he presently works at the paper company, International Paper. And while he loves the land, the heart for getting out there and up and down the field and early to rise and late to go in, it's not really recognized yet, even though it's there. Anything that I ask him to do, he'll help me greatly. But you got to have that on the inside that gets you out of the bed and gets you there on your own. And now my daughter will come over, and her and another lady and one man bailed me out 2 years ago because I had to fire the crew that was working because they did nothing. 3 days and they hadn't done a day's work. And then I had to get rid of them, and they came and bailed me out. And in a day and a half, we finished shocking up all of my peanuts. So we would like to thank my grandson. He loves coming out to the farm and working. But with the present climate, to think that that would be an opportunity for him, he sees the struggle that I'm going through. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
What about you, Cliff?
Well, it's similar, but, we have 3 children that are still living, and, that are still here with us. Our son is in Las Vegas and a nurse. His heart's there, but I don't know whether he'll ever come back. I think he'll help conduct business. Then I have my youngest daughter. Our youngest daughter is in Maryland in public school system. And I have a daughter that's a 4-H agent right in the county. They all help me with the marketing piece. Without them, I would not have SladeFarms.com or Slade 43560. We shot videos yesterday. I sent it to my daughter in Maryland. My son-in-law is like an expert web developer, so he maintains my website. The future in farming is there for them, and I just ask them to do this one thing. The people that I have in place that work on the farm with me right now, if they treat them right, I think they will stay there and continue to have a bright future holding on to the land. I don't think I have one daughter and a granddaughter that would hop on a tractor. But the rest of them, I'm just not sure.
Just not sure.
But I think family-wise, we're going to make it work because my oldest daughter, her name is Lasagna. She has Sycamore Springs Farm Market, which was a vegetable stand that my wife and I started. But because of age and needs, we had to give it up. She runs that. And she also sells at 2 farmers markets, one in Virginia Beach off of Shore Drive, which is closed for the season, and one in Bennett's Creek. So that magnet has been instilled in there too. Now, but they never cursed me or sassed me, but I didn't work them as hard as my dad worked me either. But the future is there, and the land will definitely stay Slade land. And when I got that land from my dad, I just said to myself this: not on my watch. This farm is going to stay intact as Slade land as long as I got breath in my body.
Yeah.
And I want to instill that same pride in my 3 children that I have left. Not on your watch do you sell some of this land off to anybody. Dr. Boyd said they're not making no more.
That's right.
You
He
know?
said,
and we need
sure
to make that money
land
off the land, no matter how we do it.
So I know that when it's time to harvest and so forth, you guys aren't the only ones out in the field. Is it easy to hire workers to come in and help?
You're very limited in who's even available. Because a large part of what we used to could get for labor now, their health issues, because the younger generation doesn't want to go out there. So what I'm inspiring young blacks to come up, if they can take a look at, I don't brag about this, my life history here, I have been able to be published made the cover of Virginia Living Magazine, Western Tidewater, and this week coming up, National Geographic is coming out to my farm.
That's fantastic.
To do a story on me, along with Cuisine Noir and Good Grit Magazine. And I say all of that because what I tell people is if you stick with your passion and do that which you're able, after a while, your passion will make room for you. And it's making a room for me right now. So hopefully my son, my grandson, my granddaughters, and the generations that follow will see that Pop and Granddad made a mark that deserves being carried forward.
Carried forward, absolutely. Do you hire migrant workers, Cliff?
Yes, I do.
Do you?
I have 3.5 acres of certified organic sweet potatoes, and I just sent a check for almost $4,000 for the labor. That's why, people say, why are you so high? Well, if I can't, I've got a lot of friends, and I'd like to make more friends. But in order to stay on that farm, Barbara, I need to make money. And the only way I can do that is to get $2 a pound for my sweet potatoes, or $2.50. So it's those types of things that we have to do. But without migrant labor right now, I'm not sure, how, we would continue on. But they're not on my farm full time. They help me to plant, and to help harvest, and then I can use local labor to do the rest.
All right, we got some phone calls standing by. Let's talk to Margaret in Newport News. Hi, Margaret. You're on the air.
Hello, Barbara. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am super, and your conversation today is so interesting because I am an older woman now, but my grandfather and the land that he owns is actually was adjacent to the slaves' property, and I would like to move back over there, not to farm necessarily, but just to live on the land, for the rest of my life. And I remember them talking about, and was probably the slaves' great, grandfather, because my grandparents were, older. But I'm so interested in that, and I would like to contact him, if I could by,
can she email you through your website?
Yes, she can email me through the website.
Okay.
Let me just give you my email address. It's neat because I have this hook, Cliff, 1F, 43560. Why that number? At gmail.com. Again, Cliff, all lowercase, 1F, 43560 at gmail.com. I'd love to talk to you.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thanks so much, Margaret, for the call. We appreciate that. Let's talk to Chuck in Chesapeake. Chuck, are you there?
Yes. Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Barbara, what I don't understand is that white farmers got money all back down the years to buy equipment, to buy seed or whatever. Now the president has signed this bill so black farmers can kind of catch up with them. But they don't want black farmers to do that. And I don't understand why, man. What is the deal with that?
Well, according to the information that we have in terms of this newest bill, the Inflation Reduction Act bill, they took the race language out of the bill so that the money could be distributed. The question, though, is whether or not the USDA will come up with what discrimination means so that people will know if they can apply or not for these loans. So that's the other reason why we're at such an impasse right now. But I'm going to let the gentleman talk to you about why they think this is happening.
Well,
Elijah?
First of all, we've been at this same point time and time again. This is just history repeating itself to maintain a control so that we don't get to progress. When I bought my farm, the real estate dealer that I bought the farm through was called all kinds of ungodly names because I was able to buy that farm in a white community. And
it's the discrimination that's been going on all along.
It just continues to go on. Yeah. And even after I bought the farm, I had people sit in the driveway and tell people coming up there that I didn't own an inch of land, nowhere. And I was the one owning the farm, and they didn't know it. So, this is just history repeating itself, unfortunately. Yeah. But my encouragement is Papa said, fight that good fight. Never give up the good fight.
Keep it going.
And so I battled every day.
What about you, Cliff? What do you think?
Well, look, I tell you, the reason I don't know why my father isn't in jail, because he didn't take no stuff from nobody. His hog got out one day, and I'm not going to call any names, but it went over to the neighbor's property, and he said, if that hog comes out here again, I'm going to put shots in him. Mm. I was with my dad, about 12 years old, and he got out and pulled his shotgun out at the other man. And he said, if you put shots in him, I will put shots in you. Do you understand me? He said, I want you to look at me good. Do you understand me? I started crying. I said, my daddy going to jail. Mm-hmm. And then the other neighbor, my daddy's cow got out, and he called and said the cow was out. We went over to get the cow, and he says, yes, in the barn. Oh, but he ate $200 worth of corn while it was out. Well, his cow got out. My daddy told me and my brother, put him in the barn. He came over and said, oh, it's so nice to be neighbors and all this kind of stuff. He said, no, your cow eat just like mine. In order to get your cow back, but yours ate $300 worth. So my daddy was a tyrant, and I stayed in fear all the time. And my daddy was going to jail, but he didn't back down off of a soul for anything, anytime, or anywhere. The smartest man with a 7th grade education I've ever met in my life.
We got 1 minute left, so I want each of you to give a website, or how do people reach you if they are interested in getting your goods. So tell us your website again, Cliff.
Okay, yes, it's sladefarms.com. Okay. And you can do cliff43560@gmail.com if you email me.
All right. And Elisha?
And I don't have a website, but I do have elisha.barnes1960@gmail.com. Okay. My daughter is preparing for me a website for Pop Son Farms now. So phone number 434-637-1917 is my direct phone. Please give me a call. Love to hear from you.
Oh, that is fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us today. We really, really appreciate it. And audience, support local farmers, and especially African-American farmers, by buying their crops and sharing this show so that others will know the challenges that they face. Go to anotherviewradio.org and download the podcast. Lisa, where are we in terms of our pledge drive?
We did it, and we couldn't do it without you, our listeners. Thank you so much. We raised $2,050 during this hour, which means we met our match, so $4,050.
Yay, fantastic. Thank you, everyone who gave so generously to our fall membership drive in support of Another View. We truly appreciate you all so much. And it's not too late to join the family, so you can call 800-940-7170, or you can go to whro.org and make your pledge now. And be sure to tell the volunteer that you're calling in support of Another View. Lisa, you want to tell folks one more time where they can go to sign up for our live show that is coming up on the 29th?
That's right. You can go to the whro.org website and look under events, and you will see the Another View Live, and we're looking for you there. We're excited about being out in the community.
Absolutely. That'll be September the 29th. That's 2 Thursdays from today, and we will be live from noon until 1 o'clock at Fort Monroe. We're going to be talking about Harriet Tubman. And did you know that she was a nurse at Fort Monroe? And we're going to meet a descendant of the contraband folks. These were people who escaped slavery and were held as property so that they could stay free. The history is simply fascinating. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Hamley. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone, and thanks again so much for your support. We'll see you on the radio next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.
Support comes from Thomas Nelson Community College, now becoming Virginia Peninsula Community College, the first choice to start a bachelor's degree since tuition is 1/3 the cost of four-year schools. More at tncc.edu.